This is content hacking for the win, and first I'd like to see kind of where everybody's at in terms of how long you've been using WordPress / websites, building your own. Is anybody in here like less than a year into their WordPress journey? Awesome. Like a year to 3 years? Cool. Like 3 to 5 or 6 years? Cool. And more than 5, like 5 to 10? Awesome. Okay. Cool. So we're all over the place. My name is Mallory Whitfield. I've been blogging on a WordPress site, missmalaprop.com, since 2006. My first WordPress site was built by a friend of mine in like 2004, 2005. So I've been obsessed with WordPress for a really long time. I actually did LiveJournal before that, which was the beginning of learning HTML. I don't know if anybody remembers LiveJournal. And most of my education was kind of self-education, figuring out things on LiveJournal, on my own WordPress website. And then in 2014, I switched to a full-time career in digital marketing. So now I work as content analyst at FSC Interactive, which is a digital marketing agency here in town. So I worked in the SEO department for the first while that I was there. Now I'm in the creative department, so I kind of touch all things. I touch SEO, search engine optimization, I touch the blogs, social media, all sorts of things. I'm really just obsessed with the internet. So what makes content great? Great content is evergreen. And evergreen means that the content is useful throughout time. Even if it's seasonal, something like holiday specific, it happens every single year, so it's something that people can refer back to year after year. It's not just one and done. It's not immediately irrelevant, unuseful to somebody. So this is a blog post on my own blog, Miss Malaprop. A friend of mine actually wrote this as a guest blog post in 2011. Notice I'll put the word count on all of these first few slides. So this blog post is currently about 1,100 words long. This piece of content is very evergreen. Even though it was written 5 years ago, it's still really useful. I still get traffic to it. Some of the links in there I've updated over time because she might have referred to a specific piece of technology that's become out of date, like a camera or a printer. But most of the information is useful 5 years after this post was written. Great content delivers value. It's really useful to people. So this is one of the most popular, actually I think right now this is the most popular post on my website. I wrote this post in 2014. It was actually written, a friend of mine, her husband was just getting into doing crafts and selling his art, and he asked me for some advice. And instead of sending the world's longest email, I wrote this really long blog post instead. That's now very popular. It gets a ton of traffic. And I've continued to add to it. And actually, this post, after seeing how popular it is basically going to be the inspiration for the next book I write. Great content goes in depth. It answers a lot of different questions about a topic, and it covers all the possible questions that somebody might have, all the different angles. So this is a blog post that was for a client site at FSC Interactive. It's First Lake Properties. They do apartment all over the New Orleans area as well as in Baton Rouge. And they have a blog that we write in order to gain SEO value for their website, to get traffic to their website, to have people explore the rest of the apartment properties that they have. So they had quite a few different blog posts that were really similar in topic and information that they contained. And they all got okay traffic, but what we did about a year or so ago was instead of taking this handful of blog posts that were kind of duplicate information and trying to let the search engine figure out which one of these was the most relevant for people to find, we killed off some of the less trafficked blog posts and merged them into one really epic blog post, which is now 1,600 words. We created a downloadable PDF that's literally a checklist of all the stuff that you would need to know if you're moving into your first apartment, right? Really great for somebody like a Tulane college student who might be moving into their first apartment off campus. And they work with a lot of college students, so that was a really good fit for them. Great content fills a void. So a really great way to get traffic to your website is to create something that doesn't exist on the internet that people are looking for, right? I'm sure you've probably been in that situation where you're trying to find something, some sort of resource, and it just doesn't seem to exist. And maybe it does exist and they just don't know how to optimize their website for search, but that creates an opportunity for you. So this was a post that I created in January of this year, and I plan to continue to keep it updated. My awesome intern, Ashley, has actually been helping me keep this post updated in the last few months. So this is conferences for creatives. So I want to do more speaking, and I'm really involved in the creative community, crafters, creative entrepreneurs, and while there's a lot of directories out there for super businessy conferences that cost like $2,000 to attend, that's really not what I want to do. That's not where I want to speak. That's not who I want to reach. So I didn't have the resource for myself, and I knew that other people like me would find this resource useful, so I created it. It's just broken down January, February, March, April. It's super list form, and like I said, I add to it as I find new ones. So at the bottom, I'm starting to add 2017 conferences. And it's also a really great way to reach out to these conferences to let them know, hey, I exist, so that later, when I want to pitch to them to speak, that connection's already there. So notice how I included all those word counts for those blog posts. The average web page that ranks in the top 10 results for any keyword on Google has over 2,000 words. And the reason is that content-rich pages tend to get more links. And links, at the end of the day, are a huge, huge, huge part of what drives search results. As much as we say content is king, links are the emperor, right? If you don't have anything linking to your site, you don't have any domain or page authority, it's going to be really hard to get found. But if you can create amazing content that nobody else has, that's the stuff that people naturally want to link to. That's the stuff that people naturally want to share on social media, but more importantly, link to from their websites. And that's the stuff that's going to help the search engines find you. So what makes content epic? Pardon me while I take a sip of water. Okay, so what makes content epic? Epic content starts from humble beginnings. So for those of you that are in the less than 1 year or like 1 to 3 years, you have to start somewhere, right? A lot of what I do comes from a place of I've been blogging for 10 years and I have a lot of content and it's evolved a lot over the years, so I have to reconfigure it to make it work for 2016 and to make it work for where I am in my goals now. But you have to start somewhere. Epic content combines the best aspects of great content and it takes it one step further. So I always recommend focusing on your best stuff. Is anybody familiar with the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule? Yeah? Okay, so I've done this before where apparently I realized that there's a bunch of different versions of the 80-20 rule. So if anybody wants to jump in and guess which version of that I'm talking about? Anybody? I know it's early, y'all, but like, come on.
80% of your traffic is going to hit the 20 best percent of your content.
Yes, yes. This is like you hit the nail in the head right away. Yeah. So, you know, if you look through your Google Analytics or any sort of stat counter, you're probably going to see that there's that handful of pages or blog posts that's eating up most of your traffic. And then you might have 3,000 blog posts on your website, but most of those, there's probably like nobody seeing them. Or maybe it's bot traffic hitting it and literally nobody's seeing it. Some computer bot is hitting it. So that's why I think it's really important to just narrow your focus, because we don't have infinite time, right? There's only so much time in the day, especially when it comes to our website or whatever project, because we have all these other things that are going on. So as much as you can focus your intention and really make that good stuff even better, it's going to have much bigger payouts than trying to spread yourself too thin. So this is what I call the content upcycle method. It's basically taking your best stuff, upcycling it, and making it that much better. So basically, find what's working, make it better, rinse, repeat. Keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. So how do you find it? Well, first you've got to create great content, right? Because if you don't have any pretty good content, it's going to be hard to know what to work with. But once you've got that initial, this is pretty good, now let's find it and make it better. You definitely want that content to answer the questions and solve problems for your readers. That's going to help you determine how you can continue to answer even more of their questions. After you've got that initial content, you want to analyze what you've got, right? So this is a screenshot from a few years ago of my Google Analytics. This is the period from like mid-2011 to January 2013. So you can see here the blog posts that I'm showing are mostly about craft shows. I had one that was where to find good craft shows, tips for a successful handmade craft shopping party, which was kind of like a Tupperware party that I did at my house, but for craft and handmade products. Selling at craft show tips and tricks, resources for your crafty business, craft show display tips and tricks. So what I noticed was this is like, I don't know, like 30% of my traffic or something just from these 5 blog posts, right, during that time. So clearly there's something there. This is why people are finding me. This is what they're interested in. So how could I take that and make it better and make it serve my goals better? Well, in this case, what I did was I upcycled that content into an ebook. And even more recently, so I set this up as an ebook first. I originally sold it via Etsy because they offer a digital download program. And since it was for craft shows, that was my exact target market, was people on Etsy who are selling handmade products. I later set it up as a Kindle digital download where people could download it as a PDF or via Kindle. More recently, I don't know why I didn't get to this originally. If anybody's thinking about self-publishing, it's not that hard. Just go ahead and do it. So this is my proof of my first print version of this. Even though I wrote this 3 years ago, I'm finally getting around to a print version. And I just sent away the second round of revisions. So hopefully, I'm going to have this print version for sale in the next couple of weeks. And that's super exciting. Y'all, if you've never done self-publishing and you've been blogging for many years, this is really exciting to have your own work in print. And it's not that hard. Technology makes this stuff so easy. And this is an income stream that once it's done, yeah, I can keep marketing it, but it's just passive income for the most part after you've got it out there. So next, we want to make our content better, right? Content that you want to leave on your website, but you want to get more traffic to or make more money from or help people more. So definitely want to check for freshness and accuracy. As I mentioned in that photo booth blog post, there's certain products in that blog post that might go out of date. Maybe there's a better camera, there's a better photo printer, right? Also update for any broken links, because websites come and go. Even though my website's been around 10 years, a lot of the websites that I've linked to over time might not still be around. So clear out any broken links, see if you can update that to more useful information so that people who are clicking through get to something that is still useful, because that's important to deliver values to your visitors and your readers. Next, check for keyword optimization. Does anybody know who this is? Is anybody familiar with him? I'm going to blow all your minds. OK, so you've got to write his website down, because if you're at all interested in search engine optimization, he's a really, really great resource. He's kind of come seemingly out of nowhere in the last few years, but he's really smart and he knows what he's talking about. His name's Brian Dean, and he writes a site called Backlinko. And he only has on his website about 30 posts. And yet he has a ton of traffic, like hundreds of thousands of visits a month at least. He sells $2,000 search engine optimization courses, and I can't even imagine how much money he's probably making off of them. But he's really smart, and he delivers a lot of really helpful content for free. So if you're at all interested in search engine optimization, check him out. One thing that I wished that I had thought of before I heard him explain it, but I'm so glad that I heard him explain it. He suggested this technique that he calls WAG, Write, Ask Google. So you're going to write your blog post first. You're still thinking about what's the main idea of my blog post, what is the kind of keyword phrase that I want to optimize this blog post around. But after you've done that, head to Google and look for additional phrases and keyword ideas that Google thinks are relevant to what you're writing about. because there's so much free information. If you go to Google and start typing in craft show tips, for example, there's that drop down in the auto suggest at the top of all these other phrases that Google thinks are related. Now, they might not all be related to what you're talking about. You still have to use your best judgment. But the phrases that are, if there's a way to incorporate those into your content in a way that is relevant and helpful, that helps you get found more easily by the search engines. Same thing with the searches related to at the bottom of the search engine results. If you can mine that for helpful keyword ideas and then add them to your content, it's going to make you much more discoverable by the search engines. You also want to check for conversion optimization. So if you're creating content with the goal of getting somebody to do something, if you have an e-commerce site and you're creating a gift guide and you want people to buy your products, right? You want them to convert and buy something. If you're creating informational content about your services, maybe you're a medical doctor or something and you want to become their primary care physician. You want them to call you and make an appointment, right? You've got to ask them to do that. You have to tell people what you want them to do, especially online. Some people will just do it, but most people need that reminder to do the thing and click the button. So calls to actions will tell your visitors exactly what you want them to do. You can say buy now, click here, call now. But to be really explicit, that's what gets people to do things a lot of the time. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah?
I have a question on the previous slide.
Uh-huh.
The call to action.
Yeah.
Is there some kind of way to soft pedal that maybe? Rather than call us, we're trying to provide the information to suggest we're the ones that they would want without coming out with this big.
Yeah, so there's this idea of like a sales funnel. Are you familiar with a sales funnel, right? So everybody is at a different point in their customer journey when they're coming to you. If it's somebody who's coming to you for the first time and they're just discovering you, yeah, a softer sell is better. But if somebody is at the point where they're looking to buy something or do something or make an appointment, they're ready, and it's more helpful if you can just push them in the direction that they already want to go. Does that answer your question? Okay. So the keep it simple, stupid, this is back to the conversion optimization. And again, thinking about that customer journey and that sales funnel, make it really simple for somebody to focus on what they already want to focus on and what you also want them to focus on. So eliminate clutter. We all probably hate websites that we go to and it's a news website and there's a million flashing buttons and pop-ups and autoplay music and video, and you can't even focus on what you're trying to read in the article, right? And that's really frustrating. So try to avoid creating that experience for your readers. Focus on what you want your visitors to do. I love a bright, bold button for a call to action, a big red shop now or add to cart or something like that. You can always test the colors and calls to action, like the words that you use, but think about, if I was going to this website for the first time, what would make me want to buy the thing or make the phone call, right? And you can always ask friends and family for that feedback too, because sometimes you're your own worst enemy and trying to think objectively about your own product or service. So heat maps can also be really helpful to get inside the head of that visitor and understand what it is that they're trying to do, how you can make it better. If anybody's familiar with a tool called Hotjar, anybody? I'm like blowing y'all's minds today. You gotta like take really good notes. So there's this really great tool called Hotjar, which is a heat mapping tool. They do have a paid service, but they also offer, you can get certain amounts of their service for free. So if you set up with a free account, you can set up 3 heat maps for 3 different pages of your website with up to 1,000 visits per page before it will stop tracking. And that can be really helpful. So this is a screenshot of one blog post on my website from about a year ago. I redesigned my website like in just over the holiday break, so like beginning of the year. But this is from last fall. This was a fun gifts for coworkers blog post I had. And I create these, you can see this image with the text, fun gifts for coworker, and this poop emoji coffee mug. I create these graphics that are very tall, collage-like graphics for Pinterest, because that website sends a ton of traffic to my site, and I know how to optimize the images for that platform. But what I realized with this heat map is that, especially on mobile, which is the one to the right, the skinny one, people were trying to click the products in that collage graphic as if they wanted to go maybe buy that exact product, and they couldn't because it's a flat image. So I started thinking, how can I make this better? How can I make this convert? Because with these blog posts, what I was doing was linking to products as affiliate products. So every time somebody clicks through, buys that product, I make a commission. So I want to make more commission. I want to make it easier for them to buy. So what I did when I redesigned my website is I tried to make it a more shoppable experience. And I haven't gone back to every single blog post, but again, I attacked the most important content first. So this blog post is called Funny White Elephant Gift Ideas. It's one of the most popular posts on my website. It definitely spikes during Christmas, but it spikes hugely during that time of year, and I can make a lot of money off of it if I have optimized it. So I redesigned my website with Thrive Themes, which offers, they have a content builder, which is how I was able to lay out the content in this way. So on the left is desktop, on the right is mobile. You can see I've got jump links that will take you to the certain sections of my gift guide up top. But the all-time favorites, that's the first little section. I tried to make it feel more like an e-commerce site, where if somebody wants to click through to the Cards Against Humanity, they can click right through, go to Amazon. There's the tracking link. If they buy, I make money. It's really awesome. And if they shop on mobile, again, same thing. It's really easy for them to click through. And I get a ton of traffic from mobile, and it's definitely shifting that way if you're not already seeing that most of your traffic comes from mobile. Unless you're in a super business-to-business realm, you're probably going to see that too. Yeah?
Just wondering if you can answer this really quickly, and if not, just forget about
Okay.
it. What are you doing now that we can't make money off Amazon in Louisiana?
Okay, so I'll answer that really quickly, and if somebody has questions about that, we'll save them to the end to explain more what this means. But I just switched my Amazon account to Mississippi because I'm a named member of my mom's business in Mississippi, so I'm funneling it through that. So you can be sneaky if you have to. We can answer more Amazon questions later if we have time. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, I use this for Amazon and affiliate programs, but you can use this if you're selling your own products. You know, if you're doing optimization for a client and they're selling their own products for a store, all this stuff, same principles apply, right? You just want to make it as shoppable and as easy for somebody to buy as possible. This is an example of how this really revolutionized my income from making these small tweaks. So this is my Amazon Associates look. From what I did just in December of last year, whenever I optimized that post, I set up a special tracking code unique to that one blog post so I could see the performance for that specific post. That one blog post in 1 month made me over $4,700 just from those optimizations. And those optimizations, I definitely got more traffic than the previous year, but a lot of it was that I made it more shoppable. I made it easier for people to buy the products. So if you build it, they will come. Not necessarily true, right? Think back to what I was saying about links. Links help you be more discoverable. They help search engines get to you. So if you don't have links, if you don't have any pathways for the search engines to find your website or for people to find your website via social media or email, you're not necessarily going to get traffic. So content must be shared. You can share it by link building. And that could be a whole other presentation. And again, look to Brian Dean of Backlinko because he's got a lot of really great information. But you can reach out to people that you already link to. So with my Creative Conferences post, I've been reaching out to the people that I featured in the conferences to let them know that this post exists. You can reach out to niche influencers in your industry. Also, websites that have broken links. There's different tools. Brian Dean has a lot of information about this tactic specifically. But again, if I'm wanting to update my website and I might have broken links, maybe it's helpful if somebody notices, hey, there's a broken link, and they let me know, and they tell me a really great piece of content that would replace that broken link. That makes my life easier, so you can make somebody's life easier too. It can be a lot of legwork to do that, but it can have a big payoff if you don't have any links or you really need to build your link profile. You can also share it with social media. We all love social media. I'm sure you're tweeting. If you're tweeting, I'm at Miss Malaprop. So I mentioned how I will optimize my images for Pinterest. And Pinterest is much different than all the other social media sites. I really don't even think of it as a social media site. It's a social search engine, and it's a visual search engine. They're actually making some really amazing advances in visual search. You're going to be able to take a picture of a table and get that table. So it's really about optimizing for that platform. So tall images work best. A little bit of text works great. It can send a lot of traffic to your website. It does skew female, so it's thinking about who your target audience is, but this is one place where you can get traffic from if you have some sort of blog. Share it more than once, but don't be obnoxious. This is a tool that I use for Pinterest specifically. It's called Tailwind. I can do scheduling in advance of pins to go back to my website. I can pin them to different boards. That's what the slide on the left is. It's interval scheduling. And they have a new tool called Tribes, where you can basically collaborate with other people to share their content, and they'll share your content. So that's really cool. So that's it. And now I can answer any more questions for a few minutes. Yes?
When you go to mobile, and like all my websites are, I don't have a separate mobile site. It's just whatever they call it. Whatever. You go to mobile and it looks
Responsive. Yeah.
Do you think that what's the difference? Is it better to have a responsive site or better to have a separate mobile site?
I think responsive. Generally, I would say responsive is better. So yeah, you're already responsive, right?
Yeah, just find some, it could just be my theme, but sometimes things are out of place on mobile.
Yeah, I mean, and those are going to be more developmental questions. I mean, it might be your theme, it might be some of the content, but yeah, and thinking about mobile, I always recommend whenever you're, switching to a new theme or just setting up content, check how stuff looks. Even if you're just updating a blog post or page, check how it looks both on desktop and on mobile. Check it immediately, check it on as many devices as you can to make sure that it looks good to as many people as possible. Yeah?
Do you plan on tracking how many people are going to go to your website from your book? You'd be able to, because that's kind of an interesting marketing technique.
So like if somebody sees my URL in this,
yeah. You know where it's coming from?
it's a little hard. I mean, I could put like a really long UTM code in this, but nobody's going to go to their computer and type all of that in. So
it's an interesting scenario. I do
yeah.
a site for a local magazine, and a lot of traffic comes from the magazine to the website.
Yeah.
Like old school, new school.
Yeah, and most of that's going to show up like in Google Analytics or something as like direct traffic or organic search, because people either typed your URL in directly to the browser or they just went to Google and searched you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're coming, I'm fine with it, and they bought my book, so like that's cool. Yeah.
As a comment on his question about tracking it,
Yeah.
if you use a different TLD on the
Like an extension. Yeah, I mean, I could do that, and I thought about doing that actually as I was updating this, but I think that a lot of times when people go from like this print form to the computer, I don't think most people are savvy enough to type it directly into the browser. I think most people go to Google and type it in that way, so I mean, that's just my gut instinct, especially with the audience for this book. Like if I was writing something for developers, I feel like that might be more useful to test that. Yeah, yeah.
You mentioned link building opportunities for broken links, and I think I zoned out for a second. Were you saying if you see a broken link where your content would fill that, that's an opportunity for you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, Brian Dean has some blog posts and stuff specifically about that. And there's like extensions to Chrome and other tools where you can say that you knew a website would kind of naturally be a good fit, and you were looking for a page that might be linking to something like yours and hoping that there's a broken link somewhere, that we would scan that page for you and pull out a broken link so that then you would know, oh, hey, this link's broken, but I have this great piece of content that maybe you would want to replace it with. It takes some time and effort to do that sort of stuff.
I was going to ask, do you think that's a good opportunity for a virtual assistant to do for you, or do you really need to be?
I mean, that's a great thing to train like a virtual assistant for, yeah. Some of the stuff, if you dive into people's blog posts about people who have done this, a lot of people have used virtual assistants or, you know, Fiverr gigs or whatever for that kind of work, yeah. Yeah?
Did you use CreateSpace for your tree book?
I did, yeah, yeah.
How was it?
How was it? I wish I had used it sooner. It was like really easy. You can download basically like Word templates that will help you with all the formatting and stuff. I should have just done it this way like 3 years ago instead of the way I did it, but that's how you learn things. Yeah, you had a question.
Have you written anything that chronicles your path to this, newbies?
My whole path? I need to. It's one of those things like I do have my tentacles in a lot of different things, and I have a lot of different interests. I have a really outdated how to start a blog post on my website that is a few years old and that I need to update because that's one of those things that is not as evergreen because it changes rapidly. But yeah, that's something that I do need to expand more upon, and maybe that's another book because it goes in so many different directions. So.
Copy in ebook format available for the press?
Of this? Yeah, so there is an ebook that people can still buy. I have that up until I get this ready to switch it over, and they'll still be able to buy an ebook version. The cover, if you notice the cover, the old cover is different, so I updated the cover to make it like, it's going to be fancy and new. I'm going to do a relaunch. But people will still be able to buy the ebook if they want to, or the paper book. But I know for this market in general, a lot of it, I've found that a lot of my audience, in the last couple of years, I've realized I have a lot of people like in their 50s coming to me. And I have a feeling that a lot of them would rather have like a print version of a book than an ebook. Because even I often prefer to read a real book to get a break from the computer when I'm on the computer or my phone all day. So I love giving people that option. Yeah, so remember I was saying how Brian Dean only has like 33 blog posts or whatever on his site? I have more than that just because I haven't cleaned it up the way I want to. But I honestly, I only post a new post like every 4 months or something. I kind of like, I would rather take the time to create something really awesome and in-depth and epic than to write a blog post every day. You know, when I started out, that used to be the thing. It was like, write a blog post every day, and it should be 300 words, and blah, 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 blah. And there's, it's like, that doesn't stand the test of time very often. It's not necessarily as useful to people. I'd rather create immense value for people and go super in-depth and just focus on that stuff than try to, like, have all the content in the world out there.
Do you find that this same strategy applies to clients? I guess because that's a
yeah, so I've been trying to, with FSC, with some of our clients there, I've been trying to steer some of our clients more in that direction. So for instance, we work with Hotel Monteleone, and they're one of our bigger clients. Like, we do everything for them. We do social media, paid search, blogging, search engine optimization, and we've worked with them since before I was even there. So they have a pretty long history, and for their blog, we usually write a lot of seasonal content because we're always trying to promote reasons why you would want to come to New Orleans, like festivals and events and stuff. But most of that stuff happens every single year. So instead of trying to create a second blog post about Jazz Fest when there's already a blog post, I've been getting them in the habit of let's optimize, like let's re-update and optimize the post that we already have and make it better and have it have more information than to create two posts. Because what having Jazz Fest Post 1 and Jazz Fest Post 2 does is it's going to confuse the search engines. They're not going to know which one, and usually they're going to want to go to the older one anyway because that's been around longer. So like trying to get traffic to that Jazz Fest 2016 post when there's already Jazz Fest post that's 3 years older, it's much easier to just take what you have, make it better, and then republish that. Because I'll just change the date so it's bumped up in their blog. We'll push it back out on social media. It's my content upcycle method. How are we on time? Okay. So sounds like we're pretty much out of time. I hope you guys found that useful. I'll be around most of the day, so if you have any follow-ups, like,